Did I actually take a step? I am finally doing this. Wow. This laugh expresses how joyful I am at the moment. Hello, you're listening to Thrive and Soar podcast. I'm your host, Theodora Nadi. I am an entrepreneur, a researcher, and of course, a digital content creator. My mission is to help goal and growth-oriented persons like you break your barriers so that we can thrive and soar together. Life is about growing and changing, and you get to see your life evolve positively. If yes, then this is the right space for you. This is the space for you to improve your life and transform your personality. Join me on this journey of becoming the best version of ourselves, and I will support and empower you every step of it so that we can win together. Let's move. A little back end story. I didn't see myself doing this anytime soon, but hey, here we are. Now let me tell you how I landed here and why I did not expect to be here this soon. So I usually go to teenage gatherings as a volunteer to talk to teenagers about various topics. About 9 months ago, during one of my volunteering services, my team and I were to talk to some teenagers about discovering their talents and building on them. It was my first time volunteering with this group. So they had never seen me talk to people before, and I was going to be the last speaker, which I did well. So some days later, one of the facilitators of that program contacted me. He told me that he would like me to be a part of their team. He said my words could make a desert turn into an ocean. Wow, that compliment hit me hard, because he had only met me once and he had so much to say about how impactful my words could be. I don't take such compliment for granted, not at all. I laughed and told him that I was not prepared to join his team. And seriously, I wasn't prepared to join his team then. Although then, even up till now, I would like to use my knowledge and experiences to make an impact. But at that moment, my limit was just to volunteer at a teenage gathering, and it was going to take me 2 to 3 years even to consider doing that part-time. I told him all this. He tried as much as he could to convince me, but then I was so adamant as I had some goals. Then I had few goals laid out, and that was mid-year already, and speaking to people in whatever way other than the teenage stuff was not even there. So months later, around October last year, 2021, I sought other opportunities. I searched my mind, I brainstormed ideas, I searched my soul for what I could do more. I surfed the internet for ideas, and lots of ideas came up, lots of recommendations, including NFT, creating podcasts, YouTube channel, and many other things. I researched a few suggestions I picked, in which creating podcasts was one of them, and YouTube channel as well as the NFT thing. So I gave my excuses for NFT, and then when it got to podcast, I felt like I needed a full studio. I felt like I needed a special skill. I don't know what I was thinking then, but I totally told myself I wasn't equipped, I wasn't qualified. I made useless excuses. I made excuses that weren't worth it. I remember saying I didn't have the right voice. How would my voice sound on the microphone, and lots of things. So the same thing applied to YouTube, because I consider myself camera shy. I don't know how true that is. I can't say, because I know in the past I told myself I wasn't qualified to do this, to create a podcast. But here I am doing it. So it's possible I'm not even camera shy, but I know I do not like taking pictures. Overall issue was that I didn't think I could do anything related to having multiple people listen or watch me talk to them. At least not now, not in the next few months or even in years. So many irrelevant excuses. It baffles me how I was just limiting myself. I could have just tried, just like I am doing now. But no. I was busy looking for a way to avoid putting my voice out there or facing or doing anything that will bring my face out here. My voice as well. Then 2022 came. You know how it is with the new year, new goals and new moves. I thought I should draft out what I would like my year to look like. You know how we usually plan. I don't know if you plan, but I do plan. And then God does his own as well. But this time around, I did something differently. I did something different this time around. I specifically spoke to God about each one. Not like I don't involve God in the past. I used to do that generally, but this time I did it specifically for each one. That is, I pick one and then I embark on a journey to talk to God about it. Yes, I said God because I'm a Christian and I do not joke with involving God in all I do. I prioritize him, and over the years, I have realized that inviting God into my affairs makes it easier than I ever imagined. Way easier. I would always say, God, please give me a piggyback ride. God, please, my feet are not enough to carry me. Please, my eyes are not enough to see what is ahead of me or what is even close to me. So I pray to God to help me with my interest in exploring other opportunities. Do you know what happened? Interestingly, on one of those days, sometime in January, that should be second week of January or third week of January, the name Thrive and Soar came up. And when it came up, I said, I let your experiences so that you can be able to use it to help others. I was surprised. Yes, I was. But the experiences, how? I was confused. How? Thrive and Soar, the name there, I could relate to it. Immediately the name came up, I went on Google and I searched the actual meaning of this. I was impressed. And then the purpose as well, to help others. But then how was I going to do it? How am I going to do it? So the steps didn't come up not until sometime in March. So within the 2 months of God speaking to me about Thrive and Soar, its purpose and how to actualize it, I made over 100 excuses. I made numerous excuses why this shouldn't be now, why this shouldn't see the light of the day. You can imagine looking and praying for an opportunity and then running away from it when it came because of limiting belief. At some point, I told myself, something happened at some point. I succumbed. But then I wasn't willing to start immediately. So I told myself that even if it were going to happen, it will be the second half of the year. That should be around July. But God didn't allow my fears and excuses to stop me. He already told me that I let your experiences so that you could be able to use them to help others. But then on another occasion, he said, just start and every other thing will follow. You know the final one that made me succumb finally, the final one that pushed me. He said, I have given you everything you need. Create a podcast and put your voice out there. I was surprised. Podcast. Okay, then boom. This was it. This was the one that compelled me to create this podcast, and curiosity too. I was curious to know what God had given me and what I was going to make out of it. You know that feeling of receiving a call from your friend. Hello, Theodora. I actually sent some gifts to your house. And then you're eager to know what the gift is. You're eager to open it. I don't know how to explain that. Or maybe, I don't know if you usually have that feeling, but there is this feeling I get when I get a new clothes. I am eager to see what it's going to turn out to be, like how I'm going to rock it, how I'm going to look in it, and stuff like that. So that was how I felt. So curiosity was what prompted me. I was curious to know what God had given me, the thing, what I was going to make out of it as well. Although I am passionate about making an impact, but this time around, my curiosity conquered. It conquered my passion. The passion was there, but it wasn't enough to bring creating this podcast closer. My curiosity got this podcast to my face within a twinkle of an eye. Yeah. Alas, with all my excuses and fears, I made it. God pushed me harder than I ever imagined with this. I am so grateful to God for allowing his plan to prevail over mine. Seriously. Again, because assuming he didn't step in, assuming he hasn't been there all along, probably I might still be somewhere making excuses, and I might have a million excuses now and not just 100. But you know the real deal here? At last I escaped my old zone. I escaped that old zone and I'm putting myself out here doing what I am passionate about. That is to extend my knowledge to you, share my life experiences and lessons learned with hopes that they will impact you positively so that we can at least strive and soar together. After all, life is not a competition, it is a journey. What do you think about that? Or do you consider it a competition? Because I see it as a journey. Yes, and I want us to do this together because there is an extra joy in knowing that you're evolving, you are flourishing, you're flying with many people. I am naturally like that. Especially knowing you are the physical and digital driver behind the process. In most cases, egos fly alone. Egos commonly fly alone. And that got me wondering how fun it is for an ego to soar alone rather than as a flock. Well, that is it for an ego. As for me, it is more fulfilling to have as many of us striving and soaring in this life journey. Over the years, at least for the last 4 to 5 years, I have watched my life evolve positively. I have jubilated over my achievements. I have cried over some of my failures. Quite an experience, you know. The interesting part of all this is that they are unending so long as there is life. Definitely. Achievements come, failures come, they are just there. They are not going anywhere so long as there is life, so long as you're still living. Life is entirely about changing and growing. If you're not evolving, you are not growing. And if you're not growing, you aren't living. So we should always ask ourselves, am I evolving rightly? And is my growth level my desired level? Only when you ask and answer this question would you be able to decide if improving your life, transforming your personality, and achieving your desired level of growth should be a priority. You know, for one to aspire to become the best version of oneself, they may probably be a better or the worst version of themselves. But whatever the case is, your aspiration depends on your definition or your understanding of being the best version of yourself. Like, it depends on how you understand, how you perceive, how you see what it means to be the best version of yourself to you. But regardless of your opinion, where you are or what you want, one thing is sure, one thing is certain. Becoming the best version of yourself requires transformation and growth. And your transformation and growth now depends on your definition of best and your desired level. The most significant part of transformation and growth we encounter in life is usually inspired by knowledge, experiences, and lessons learned. I've come to realize that. For example, now, we would not be considering moving to a particular part or a better part of our country, state, or city if we do not know what that place has to offer compared to our current place of residence. The farther you are where that place be is the most multicultural city and offers career development opportunities, could make you leave place A and move to place B. This is a typical example. So you see, your knowledge informs your change of location to place B. Another example is that you will still proceed to make a wrong decision if you have not learned a lesson from the previous one. Oh my God. I am laughing again. I am laughing again because 99 out of 100 times we do not look like what we've been through. Yes. I don't know how, but it is true. 2 years ago, I made a wrong business decision that flopped. The loss was massive, and I endured it for a long time. But you know one good thing about that experience? I learned a lesson that will guide me for the rest of my life. Such opportunities would arise again, definitely, but I won't be able to consider them again. I won't consider them again because I've had my fair share of all it entails. And the list goes on and on. The list of decisions we've taken, moves we've made based on being informed or based on experiences and lessons learned. So this inspiring knowledge, experiences and lessons shaping our transformation and growth could be ours or they could be another person's own. The most important thing is that we are receptive to them so long as it is beneficial to us. That is the most important thing. Well, it doesn't cost an arm or a leg to share my knowledge, experiences, and lessons learned with you. So I'm here to share it with you, hoping that they empower you to improve your life, transform your personality, and become the best version of yourself. Before I end this episode, I would like to prompt you to check yourself and ensure you're not making unnecessary excuses that limit you, just like I did sometime last year and early this year as well. It is one thing to make excuses and it is another thing to sit still and watch those irrelevant excuses turn into a barrier. A barrier that prevents you from achieving your desired level of growth. Why settle when I can fly? Ask yourself this question and it could be your starting point. Thank you for listening to this episode of Thrive and Soar podcast. I want you to remember that we've hoped, we've coped, and we do not just want to survive. We want to reach for the stars. We want to thrive and soar because it is our birthright. We've got this, and God got us. Whether we've become the best version of ourselves or we're still working towards being the best version of ourselves, what matters is that best is the common word here, and we have that word in mind. So join me in a toast to the best version of us. I hope that I've been able to impact your life through this episode. Please be sure to subscribe so that I'll be motivated to join you again. And if you appreciate the show, please give us some stars. Thank you.